Hello. We're going to be having a lesson about the space race. To start this lesson, you need to have the space race exit ticket. So, go ahead and click on the link on Canvas. You'll find it here. It looks like this. And you need to make a copy for yourself and be ready to pause the video to fill in these blanks. So to make a copy, you go to the three-dot menu, go down to Share and Export, and make a copy for yourself. I want you to follow along with the video that I'm going to show you. And when I come to different parts of this, you're going to pause and fill in your blanks. I may alert you to some of those, but it would be a good idea for you to pause now and look at this document and check what are the 11 things that I'm going to need to know by the end of this. Your word bank things to fill into the blanks are right here. So go ahead and make your exit ticket copy. Pause the video and read through your list of things that you're going to want to know before you come back. So today's lesson, your can-do statement, your objective is, by the end of this lesson, I can recall and order the important events of the space race. That's right, we're talking about space, baby. You're going to be able to tell me what are the most important things that happen in the space race, and you're even going to be able to tell me basically what order they happened in. So here are your steps to succeed today. You're going to be pausing the video periodically to fill in blanks on your exit ticket. You're going to share your completed exit ticket with your teacher. And then you're going to use that exit ticket to help you complete the timeline and matching assignment on Canvas. So you can kind of flip back and forth between the exit ticket and the assignment, and it will help you order these events that you can recall. All right, let's get it started. So, the beginning of the space race. Starting in 1955, the space race was a peaceful competition between the U.S. and the USSR. Although the U.S. experienced many early losses to the Soviet Union, they were actually the first and only country to land a man on the moon. So, the Americans were the first country to land a man on the moon. Go ahead and pause the video. I've just given you the answers to number 1 and 2. See if you can find the words in the word bank that you will need to fill in the blanks there. Okay, so early in the space race, the Soviet Union actually had a lot of successes where the US was trying to catch up and come along behind them. So let's take a look at some of those early successes of the Soviet Union. Sputnik. Sputnik was launched in 1957 by the Soviet Union, and it was the first man-made object to be put in orbit around the Earth. You'll recall that orbit means to go around something, and man-made objects in space that are orbiting something we call satellites. Spooky. The first satellite in space. That's what it sounded like. All right, so that's Sputnik. It was launched in 1957, and it's on your exit ticket. Pause the video and fill in your blank there. Here is a picture of the United States' reaction to this event. You can see U.S. science sees Sputnik flying by and goes, "What? Huh? These guys are in space already? Oh no." Laika became the first animal to orbit Earth in 1957. Little was known about the impact of space travel on living organisms at the time. That means living animals and people and plants. So Laika was used as a test subject to study the effects. Laika did not survive the trip. She died from overheating. Poor Laika. We thank you for teaching us about space, dear dog. All right, here's the big one. On April 12, 1961, the Soviets successfully launched the first man into space. His name was Yuri Gagarin. Upon his return to the Soviet Union, Gagarin was hailed as a hero. In 1968, Gagarin was killed in a mid-air collision under mysterious circumstances. Go ahead and pause your video and fill in your blank about Yuri Gagarin being the first man in space. to come back to this one.
But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept.
So, this is number 6 on your sheet. In September 1962, American President John F. Kennedy announced that Americans would land on the moon by 1970. Oops. Okay, so NASA starts catching up here. In 1961, a little bit before he made that speech, we got Project Mercury got started. Here's Project Mercury. The first human space program launched by the U.S. with the goal of putting a man into orbit around the Earth. The original 7 astronauts were launched into space using converted intercontinental ballistic missiles, including the Redstone and Atlas rockets. So these were rockets that were actually designed to be missiles that they then just put astronauts on top of and sent them to space in a project called Project Mercury. Now, number 5 on your fill in the blank is about this guy, Alan Shepard. All right, here we go. Shepard became the first U.S. man in space. On May 5th, 1961, he made his flight into space aboard the Freedom 7 capsule. While atop the rocket, Shepard had to endure multiple delays in launch. Since the launch was not expected to last more than an hour, engineers had not built a bathroom feature into the suit Shepard was wearing. Shepard was the second man in space and the first one to do so, wearing a wet spacesuit. You might remember that one of my questions was, how do you go to the bathroom in space? Sometimes you might just have to hold it if the engineers don't give you a bathroom. So a little later, after Alan Shepard, the Russians showed that they were still ahead in the space race, and they sent the first woman into space. Her name was Valentina Tereshkova. The Russians put her into space in June 1963. You'll find that on your exit ticket as well. Valentina Tereshkova went to space 1963. Okay, let's keep rolling along here. John Glenn in 1962, February 1962, John Glenn became the first astronaut to orbit Earth, first American to orbit the Earth, long after Yuri Gagarin did it in 1961. And then we're going to start talking about how we actually got to the moon. This is where America starts to catch up to the Soviet Union. Early on, the Soviets put the first man in space, they put the first woman in space, they put the first animal in space, they had the first satellite. All those things were the first. This is where we start to catch up in the United States. Moonshot. The Saturn V, designed by former Nazi scientist Wernher von Braun, here's the Saturn V, was the vehicle that would take the first men to the moon. The rocket stood 363 feet high and required its own specially made building to be assembled. The Saturn V is the most powerful machine ever built by humans. There it is, babies. And here's the building that they had to use to build the darn thing. Look at that. Wow. Look at how tiny those cars are. Okay, this is the bad news. Apollo 1. On January 27th, 1967, Gus Grissom, Roger Chaffee, and Ed White were killed when a bare wire sparked a fire in the pure oxygen atmosphere of their capsule. That's right. The poor Apollo 1 astronauts did not survive their trip. They didn't even get to start their trip to the moon. They died here on Earth inside of their space capsule. A very sad incident. There is actually an Air Force base named after Gus Grissom nearby. He was a local. So here they are loading up. And here is the aftermath of the sad fate of Apollo 1. Okay, on to happier news. The Apollo 8 sent the first men to orbit the moon on December 24th, 1968. Jim Lovell, Frank Borman, and William Anders became the first men ever to orbit the moon. That's right, December 24th, Christmas Eve. They went around the moon. And then they came back. They didn't touch it. Check out your exit ticket and fill in the blank on the Apollo 8 mission. Here's a picture that they sent back of the Earth from far away. Real people, alive, took that picture with a camera. There was a manned spacecraft out there in space. And those people, 3 people on it, were the farthest any person was from any other people. All right, this is it. The Apollo 11 mission sent astronauts Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong to land on the moon in June 1969, 51 years ago. They landed there, and in the end, the Americans won the race to the moon.
It's a sultry night in July. You've fallen asleep in the armchair. Abruptly, you startle awake, disoriented. The television set is on, but not the sound. You strain to understand what you're seeing. 2 ghostly white figures in coveralls and helmets are softly dancing. They make strange little skipping motions, which propel them upward amid barely perceptible clouds of dust. But something's wrong. They take too long to come down. Encumbered as they are, they seem to be flying. A little. You rub your eyes, but the dreamlike tableau persists. Of all the events surrounding Apollo 11's landing on the moon on July 20th, 1969, my most vivid recollection is its unreal quality. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin shuffled along the gray, dusty lunar surface, the Earth looming large in their sky, while Michael Collins, now the moon's own moon, orbited above them in lonely vigil.
All right, that's all the time we're going to give Carl Sagan to talk. He's a bit long-winded, although a very lovely man in many ways. That's our lesson on the moon landings. You should have for yourself all of the answers to your exit ticket ready to fill in if you haven't already. Take some time, fill it in, share it with your teacher, and then follow the next steps, which are to use this exit ticket to help you complete your timeline assignment on Canvas, which you'll find down below this video and the exit ticket. See you on the other side, kids.